What was the reason that you kind of sucked at creating content in 2025? What if I told you the reason that you didn't create as much content or didn't create the kind of content you wanted in 2025 wasn't out of like fear, but friction? Not imposter syndrome or perfectionism, not a lack of confidence, just friction. Because what I've noticed after years of creating content for myself and for businesses is that most people want to, or at least are willing to create for themselves or their business. They just don't want to fight their environment or their calendar or their brain every time they sit down. So today we're not talking about finding your voice or believing in yourself for 2026. We're just talking about how to create more content in 2026 and not better content, at least not yet. Part 2, we'll talk about creating better content. But in this episode, we're just talking about creating more content, putting more out there, being more consistent, getting those reps in 2026. That is the goal, is just to create more in 2026. And we're going to do that by designing systems that make creation the default, not like the exception to the rule. Hey everybody, if you're new here, my name is Trevor Grimes, and this is The Content Crowd. The Content Crowd is a podcast where we like to explore what makes content resonate, from point of view shifts to behind the scenes strategies to the nitty gritty things that make people create something that is actually worth reading, watching, listening to, whatever. And so I'm here to deliver what I've learned from others, what I've learned from myself, and help everybody create more and better content that actually resonates with your audience. I'd also like to briefly mention that this podcast is sponsored by Scrappy ABM. Scrappy ABM helps you build repeatable account-based plays and teaches your team how to own it so that they can graduate from us, from Scrappy ABM, and actually bring ABM in-house when they're ready. So if you want to find out more, go to scrappyabm.com. Now let's get into the first part, which is the real reason that content dies. Most people assume the enemy is like fear, fear of judgment or fear of being cringe or fear of saying the wrong thing, just fear of putting yourself out there. And that fear is real. And it's a real thing, but it usually shows up after something else fails. Like what actually kills content first is like this moment. You finally have time to create. You sit down and you don't know what to work on. And so if that moment creates doubt, and then doubt creates delay creates guilt, turns into avoidance, and suddenly weeks go by and you haven't even opened LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever you're creating on. And I have to be, honest with you. I didn't open LinkedIn for the first time in 2026 until yesterday, and yesterday being January 7th. So when this episode comes out, it'll be a week by. But anyway, and I was going to do that on purpose in some way because I was just taking the first week of the new year easy. But also I had a bit of that too of like, I've got to sit down and I need to take the time to plan out content for 2026. I need to put all these things together. And you know what? So I was kind of having that avoidance, wasn't ready to start creating. And that's, I'm doing the thing that I preach against, which is, don't wait until you're ready, just go and do it. And so, you know what, I'm preaching at you, but just so you know, like, I'm not perfect. I'm doing the same things that I'm helping you guys try to avoid. So hopefully by me telling you to avoid it and me telling you to avoid it, I help avoid it myself. So all that guilt and avoidance comes in and weeks go by and you haven't created anything or posted anything. And so the fear isn't necessarily like, what will people think? All of that is there. Usually it's like, what if I don't have anything worth saying? How do I stand up against someone else who's talking about the same thing? And that's not necessarily a confidence problem, but that's an idea storage problem, okay? And why I'm saying that's an idea storage problem is because, everybody can say that we're an expert on something, and that honestly is kind of true. Like, you could be an expert on anything you want to talk about, and it doesn't take it 10,000 hours or whatever to do it. You just need to have a unique point of view. And so that's why this first system is really important. And you've heard me talk about it on previous episodes, but I'm bringing it back up to you again because it's such a good way to quickly create a lot of content and create a unique point of view. And that is the note card method. Okay. If you want to know more about the note card method in depth, I suggest you go back and listen to episode 19, which is just called the note card method for endless content ideas. And it really is a great method for endless content ideas. So the note card method is pretty simple, and well, that's the point. It's simple and effective, which means you actually use it. So it's not some like AI prompt library, and it's not a digital tool at all. Actually, it's a thinking tool. It is literally, so it's not some AI prompt library. It's not like a Notion doc or anything like that. It's not even a digital tool. It's not a content So it's not a AI prompt library. It's not like a Notion doc. It's not like a color coordinated content calendar in Excel. It's not even a digital tool. It's actually what it sounds like. It is physical note cards. It's a thinking tool. So here's how I use it. Like I write one idea per card, not a finished post, not some script, just like a thought, a question someone asked me, a frustration I felt, something I learned, something that I disagree with, just one idea per card. And so why this works is when ideas live in your head, they kind of compete with everything else. And so when ideas live on paper, they kind of wait. Like you can come back to it later. You can add from it. You can branch off from it. Like one idea can create 10 different things when it's on paper. And so when you're not trying to create, that's when inspiration kind of hits. And you've got to capture it, right? So that shift alone removes the pressure of like, I'll come back to this and remember it later. No, the idea is that you write down one idea, one thought per card. And you could have had these ideas in like your phone or in a doc somewhere else. But the idea is that you take this idea that you've put somewhere and put it in a place where it belongs in a content creation system. So in this instance, it is these note cards. You're going to write these. I even categorize them. I use where is it? I use a pen like this that has multi-colors, and then I just go through and color coordinate what these are. I have the top card is like a legend where it's like if it's this color, it's this. If it's this color, it's this. Or if it's highlighted in this, it means this. And I divide it up by those different segments. So like something that I learned or something that I disagree with or something that somebody asked me. And then I have those into those categories. So once you've got all your cards, you organize them, and it just helps you reduce that decision-making anxiety later. Label the cards as like story, lesson, hot take, how-to, question, behind the scenes, something like that. That's it. And then here's the key insight to all this. You're not building content yet. You're just building inventory. You're just building a thought space, so that way that inventory removes panic for later. So when you do sit down and you have 30 minutes to create something and you have 30 cards in front of you, like you don't have to think, what should I post or which one do I feel like using? Like it's literally just like shuffling, grab one, and you really just grab one and shuffle it and start creating from there. It's a very different emotional experience. And once you get into this idea and you have all these things written down. Again, you can expand on each one of these, or you can just let them live as just new thoughts every time you come up to one. Then you can use another thing that I created that is called the 30-day content sprint. And this will help you, again, build that volume very quickly. And this is why I'm suggesting that volume comes before quantity. So once you have those ideas, you still need momentum, and that's where the 30-day sprint comes in. And by the way, I'll link all these things in the episode description, so whatever platform you're on, you should be able to go and find the 30-day sprint and also content about the note card system. So this sprint is not about like growth or optimization or branding or content pillars or anything crazy. It's just about proof that you can finish things and that you can publish things imperfectly. You can survive low engagement. You can do all these things. And the sprint works because it replaces overthinking with movement and momentum. You document the curiosity and you publish before you're ready. And that's what's important. You stop judging individual posts and something powerful happens, like your fear shrinks and your repetition grows and you get those reps in. And that's what the 30-day content sprint is about. Again, if you want more information about the content sprint, go check it out. It's for free. All it is just a structure to help you follow to post content. It goes week by week. It starts with an idea dump, turning those into 5 posts. Then it moves on to choosing core topics to create content pillars. And then by week 4, you've built a simple, repeatable content system that replaces like waiting on motivation with actual momentum. So go grab that. It's free. It's a really great tool if you are really trying to start the year strong and you've struggled in the past with creating content consistently. Finally, let's just talk about the environment real quick. The environment is also a place where most people sabotage themselves. So if like creating content requires like setting up a tripod and finding good lighting and clearing a desk and adjusting audio and getting everything ready, like you won't do it consistently. You need to have something that is just set up and ready to go. So instead, focus on designing a space where content is like always just one decision away. If it's in your office and you've got a window, keep the tripod right in front of the window so that you're ready to just set up your phone or your camera and sit down and start recording. If you know what time the light is good, and you walk in and you've got great light or whatever, just go for it. Even if the room doesn't look right, like don't negotiate with yourself. If you have a bunch of junk in the back like I do, just sit in front of it so people can't see it. But just sit down and press record. Go through one of your ideas and just start talking out loud. It's discipline in a way, but it's also help making discipline easier by designing the space that you need to create. So the takeaway is that creating more content in 2026 isn't about trying harder, but it's about capturing these ideas of trusting memory, reducing decisions instead of forcing motivation, and like designing your space instead of relying on willpower. In the next episode, we'll talk more about creating better content, how to aim the system, how to choose content pillars, how to make your content serve real goals instead of just existing online. But for now, I want you guys to just focus on building the system that help you create more content in 2026. Build the habit of putting ideas on paper, creating a pillar of some kind to help these ideas branch out into multiple other ideas, and designing a space where you can easily sit down and just start recording without the hassle and without like feeling like you're dragging yourself out of bed in the morning. I hope you guys found a lot of value in this episode. As I mentioned earlier, the next episode will be about creating better content. So over the next week, I want you guys to put one of these ideas to the test and see how it changes. In even just a few days, you can change the way you create content forever. I'll speak at you guys next week. Hope you guys have had a great 2026 so far, and I look forward to creating more content for you guys throughout the year. See you later.